Hi there, today I'm going to show you how to create those super cute beaded fringe earrings. So first I'm going to get through the material that you're going to need. You're going to need at least 5 shades of seed beads. Here I'm using the Miyuki ones that are 1.8 millimeters if I recall correctly. You're also gonna need some beading threads. Here I'm also using some Miyuki beading threads. I'm gonna add all the links in the description of this video, so it's gonna be easier for you to find it. And then you're gonna need one beading needle. From there, you're also gonna need those 2 little hoops. You can just use silver or gold or whatever works for you. We're just gonna use them to attach the earrings to the earring ends. So you're also going to need some scissors, of course, and you're going to start by cutting at least 1.5 to 2 meters of thread. The longer it is, the more annoying it's going to be to work with, but then the less changes you'll have to do during the project. So that's up to you. Here I went for around 2 meters. So we're going to put it on your needle, your beading needle. And now we're just gonna get started with the foundation rows of the brick stitch. So in order to do that, you're gonna need to get through 6 beads in total. So just put them on your needles like that and get them through the thread. Once you're at that stage, you're basically gonna loop back through the 3 first beads that you put in. So just put your needle through those ones and pull through. It's going to create a little circle exactly like that. So I tried to make this little drawing to show you where you're going to have to put your thread next. So here you can see the rest of the 3 beads, and you're going to try to get back through them so that both ends of your thread are going to be on the same side. So there should not be on the opposite side. So here I'm going to pull a little bit, pull tight on both sides, and yeah, here you can see both threads, so the end and the beginning are on the same side. So you're done with the first step, and now we're just going to keep going. So you're going to add 3 more beads. There we go. So pull through, and every time we're going to get back through the top of the last 3 beads that we added. So you put your needle, you get through them again, and you pull through. This is a little, drawing that I made here as well, so you can visualize it better. So here you see your thread is at the end. Now we need to get back again through the last 3 beads. So you're gonna put it in and pull through all the way over. So at the ends, your threads from the beginning and the latest one should be on opposite ends, exactly like that. So one is facing one side, the other is on the other side. All right, let me show you one more time. You're gonna put 3 beads on the needle, pull through, and then you're gonna get back in through the top of the 3 last beads that you added, pull through, and now you're gonna need to pass through again by the bottom of the latest 3 beads. And then you're gonna pull through again and pull tight on both ends. Your 2 threads are on the same side, and you're gonna keep going like that until you have 13 columns in total. Now we're gonna work on the first row of our brick stitch foundation. So in order to do that, you're gonna start with 2 beads. You're gonna pull your needle through, and once this is done, we're gonna be working with the threads that are in between the different columns that you see, and you're gonna go and pass your needle through the second little bridge that you see there. So exactly like that. And then with the same thread, we're gonna go through this last bead again, but from the front, not from the back anymore. So you're gonna pull it, and now it's gonna be well tight. And we're gonna get through again the first bead that we added, exactly like that. And now we're just gonna loop right back in again the second bead. You pull through, you tie it well, and now it should be holding well together. So we did our decrease, and now you're gonna have one less bead per row every time. And we're just gonna keep going, but now we're gonna work with one bead for the rest of this row. So you just put one on your threads, go through the next bridge from the back, right? From the rear, pass through the little bridge that your thread made, and then loop right back into the bead from the front side. Pull tight, and you're done. Let's keep going with one more bead. Grab a bead, pull it on your needle, go through the little bridge from the back, like that, pull through, and then pass through the bead, but from the front this time. Pull through. So keep going like that until you make it to the very last little bridge that you can see. So your whole row is going to be completed exactly like on this image. Once you're there, just flip your work around, and we're going to start exactly the same way we did, but from this side. So again, grab first 2 beads, put your needles through, then pick not the first but the second bridge that you can see with the little threads. Get in from the back, pull it tight, pass right through the second bead from the top, pull, and then get right back in the second bead, and then again one last time through the other bead, and now you pull. All right, pull tight, and now we're gonna get started with single beads every time. So one by one, put 1 bead on your threads, get through the next bridge that you see from the back, and then put your needle through again, but from the front side this time. Pull, and your bead is settled. Again, grab 1 bead, get it through your needle, go through the next bridge that you see from the back, and then pass through from the front side, and pull tight. And you're gonna keep going like this for a little while. So you're gonna keep going like that by flipping your work every time and just working your ways through each row, and you should have 10 rows in total. And now I'm just gonna show you how to make the last row work. At this point, you have 3 beads on top, and you have to add your 2 last beads. So you're just gonna grab them exactly like you did for the other rows, get through it with your needle, pull through, and again grab the second little bridge that you see, get your needle under the bridge. So nothing new at that stage, right? You do exactly the same thing that you did for the other rows, and here you're gonna get through from the front side. And here what we're gonna do is that you're gonna grab one of these little hoops that you gathered at first. So this is where we're gonna attach the body of the earring to the rest, basically to the head of the earring. So you pull it through your thread, and it should be tight enough so that it doesn't go away, right? And then you're gonna keep going exactly the same way you did with the other rows, except that this time you're gonna have your little hook in the middle, but it should not be that annoying. So yeah, get through the first bead and then get right through the second bead again. Pull very tightly, everything should be holding, and your little hook should be standing on the top, exactly like that. So at that stage, we're pretty much done. So we're just gonna wrap around the thread a couple times to make sure that it's well secured and that it is not gonna get loose at any point. And in order to do that, here I'm just wrapping it up back and forth like around the little hoop and just pulling. I'm not doing this in a very clean way. I guess you can do that a little bit better than I'm doing here. But yeah, you got the purpose is just for it to avoid being too loose. And once you're done, you're just gonna get through a couple of beads. So here I'm just gonna go down and follow kind of like a diagonal path, if that makes sense. Just so that my string is nicely tied around and I'm not scared of like breaking things. So yeah. So yeah, here I'm going through all of the beads at once. It's much easier. And then I'm gonna pass them through this little column from our foundation rows. And here you should have still quite a long thread that is hanging from the side of the earring, and we're going to use that for the next steps in order to start adding the fringes. So that's step number 5. So if you can screenshot this pattern, it's going to be super useful for you. So I encourage you to do so. I wrote all the numbers of beads that I added and the colors, the different color patterns that I'm using for each fringe. Feel free to adjust it or use your own colors, make your own mixes, make it longer as much as you want. But if you want to do it exactly the same way that I'm showing on that example, try to follow the pattern. So here I'm adding my beads for my first fringe. So I'm following exactly the first pattern and it's 17 beads in total, and I'm alternating so I have a nice gradient at the end between my 5 colors. I pull through with my needle, and then what we're gonna do is that we're gonna skip the last bead, but then we're gonna get back through each bead that we added on that thread. So put your needle through exactly like that, pull, and now you're gonna pull again, but not too much, because otherwise your fringe is gonna be super stiff. So pull very carefully and make sure that it's not too tight, basically, but also not too loose. So there shouldn't be any empty spaces or gap between the last beads. And then you're gonna get through the 3 first beads of your foundation bricks, basically. And here you have your first fringe. It is settled. So what you're gonna do to go through for the next one is that you're gonna pull your needle right through the next column of 3 beads, exactly like that, and pull through until you make it there. Again, don't pull too tight, because otherwise it's gonna look bad. And then I'm gonna follow up with the next fringe. So this time I'm using 19 beads, so I'm making it slightly longer every time. And showing you one last time. So you got your whole fringe there. Ignore or skip the last bead and get through all the other ones with your needle. There we go. Pull through, but not too tight and not too loose. And then get through the 3 beads of that column. So here, I'm gonna try to grab the thing well. And yeah, pull again. Sometimes the fringe is gonna get stuck in the threads. It's a bit annoying, but you can just untie it every time. It's a bit frustrating though. But yeah, here we go. We got our 2 first fringes, and third one, we do exactly the same. We get through the next column, and you can keep that going until you have not enough thread anymore. And that's our next topic, how to change the thread, because at some point it's going to be too short to make a fringe. So what you're going to do is that you're going to grab some thread again and take at least a good 2 meters, I would say. The longer the better, because you're going to have less work and you're going to avoid having to change it a third time. So you got your 2 meters in and you're going to put your needle in. And now what you're going to do is that you're going to get through some of the columns that you see, basically not too far from where you ended the thing. there's no real nice way of doing it, or at least from my experience. So I'm just passing my needle back and forth so that my thread is well secured. So for example, here I was starting from the top, and then I'm gonna get right back through the bottom of my last fringe. Okay, got a little bit of a mess there. And then in order to make it extra secure, I'm going to go up a couple rows by moving diagonally with the next beads and pulling it a little bit. But you don't really have to do that, but it's just to make sure that it's extra secure. Here I was just making a mess, so I'm not recommending that you follow my advice on that side. I should have cut and cleaned off the other threads first, so that was a mistake. I'm gonna show you at the end of the thing how to cut the threads properly, but if you're at that stage, I would suggest you just do it right away so they're not gonna bother you for the rest of your work. So basically I went up a couple of rows, and now I'm going down again, and I'm making sure that, and the last 3 beads I'm going through is the column of my next fringe, basically. So I just got through it, and now I'm ready to keep going exactly the way I did previously with my next fringes. So here I have a lot of extra thread, and I don't suggest keeping that up. If you can clean it earlier, it's better. All right, you're gonna keep going exactly like you did until you get to the middle. So every time I'm either adding 2 beads or 3 beads. So once you get to the 7th fringe, you got to the middle, and now you're just gonna decrease every time. So you start from the biggest to the smallest fringe. Okay, so keep going and meet me when you're at your last fringe. Okay, we're almost done. Now you're just working through your last fringe. Keep going with the pattern or whatever you worked with in the previous fringes. Pull your needle through, skip the last bead, and pass your needle through them again, exactly like you did for the previous ones. There we go. And basically what we're going to do now is try to hide and secure all these extra threads that are a little bit everywhere. So you're going to go up and down the brick stitches that you have on the foundation. And you can always work in diagonal, or you can just skip to the bead that is right on the side so that the thread shouldn't show at the end. It should be exactly like it's transparent, basically. And you can go and do something like that a couple times. And once you went up, you can also go down and try to nest your thread in one of the fringes. So I'm going to show you how I did it here. I went down as a diagonal, threads got stuck, and then went right through my foundation. And then I went through some of the beads of my fringe. And here my thread is very well secured, so I just have one last thing to do, is just to cut it. Almost cut my earring there, that was risky. All right, cut it and pull a little bit on the fringe, and you shouldn't even see the thread there, so that's good. In case you see the thread, I'm going to show you on that side. So I've got 4 threads to hide. I'm going to show you again like the whole process. So I went up a couple of rows and then decided to go down diagonally, and I'm going to nest my threads in that very first fringe. So if your work is well tighten up like mine, is going to be a little bit annoying, but you should still be able to get through all of these beads. If not, make sure that you're using a real beading needle, because they're very, very thin, so it should be way easier to do it. All right, so cutting my thread, and here you see you can still see it. So what I'm using is I'm just pulling a lighter and lighting up this very end, And yeah, it just magically goes away and now it's all clean and neat. Make sure that you don't light up your whole thing on fire. That's the most important part, but otherwise it's very easy to use and there's not much risk. So you can do that whenever your ends are not very clean. Alright, I kept going for the last 2 threads, so cutting, using the lighter to make it clean. Et voila, my earring is almost finished. There's just one last step, and I forgot to show that at the very beginning, but you need the earrings heads basically, so you can use any that you like. Here I'm using some very basic ones because they were the only ones that I had left. You open them with either some pliers or just scissors, whatever works. Put your little hoop through and then tighten it up again with the pliers. And there you go. You're done with your first earring, and now you just have to repeat all of the work for your second earring. And once this is done, here is the set that you created, and you can be proud of yourself because it's not that easy. Look at these, they look so good, and especially in the sun, like they reflect the light super nicely. So hope you enjoy yours as well. Let me know if you have any comments or thoughts or questions. I'd be happy to help. And don't forget to subscribe and let me know which other tutorials you'd like to see.